The clock struck 9:30 p.m. as Clara finally found a moment to sit on a chair in the corner of the small, dimly lit restaurant where she worked. Her back ached, and her feet throbbed after hours of serving tables crowded with impatient customers. Clara was a 24-year-old woman carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. After the sudden death of her parents in a car accident 2 years earlier, she took on the responsibility of caring for her 10-year-old sister, Luna. Her waitress salary barely covered their expenses. The rent for their cramped apartment was overdue, and bills piled up. But despite her many hardships, Clara did her best to smile when she got home, hiding her worries to avoid alarming Luna. "One day, we'll get through this," she told her sister every night, her affection contrasting with their harsh reality. Clara was the kind of person who believed in goodness, even when the world seemed relentless. However, the restaurant where she worked didn't make her life any easier. The environment was shabby, and her boss, Enrique, was rude and uninterested in improving working conditions. "Clara, faster with the orders. Do you think I pay you to stand around?" he yelled from the kitchen, his voice harsh and impatient. She didn't respond. She had learned that any reaction to Enrique would only make things worse. That night, Clara stored a small meal box in the employee's locker. It was all she had for dinner before heading home. "Where else could I work now?" Clara thought as she cleaned table 6. Despite everything, she kept going, driven by her love for Luna and the hope for better days. As the night progressed, the restaurant finally began to quiet down. Clara was already counting the minutes until her shift ended. She headed to the employee's locker, where her meal box sat untouched. "Finally, a bit of peace," she murmured to herself, placing the container on a table at the back of the restaurant. But before she could take her first bite, the sound of light footsteps caught her attention. When she looked to the side, she saw a thin, frail-looking girl standing at the restaurant's door. The girl couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Her hair was tangled, and her clothes were oversized and worn. She looked at Clara with hungry, hesitant eyes. "Can I help you?" Clara asked gently, still holding her meal box. The girl hesitated, but her hunger was stronger than her fear. I have nothing to eat," she said, almost whispering. "I'm very hungry." Clara felt her heart tighten. She knew that meal was all she had for dinner that night, but the girl's expression was impossible to ignore. For a moment, Clara thought about Enrique. If he finds out about this, he'll lose it, she thought. But then she looked at the child again, and the decision became clear. "Wait here," Clara said, standing up with the meal box in her hands. She pulled out a chair for the girl and placed the dish in front of her. "Eat. It's warm." The girl's eyes widened, surprised by the unexpected kindness. "But, wasn't this for you?" Clara smiled, placing a hand on the girl's shoulder. "I can go without dinner for one night." "You shouldn't have to." As the girl ate slowly, Clara sat beside her. "What's your name?" Clara asked. "It's Julia," the girl replied weakly but relieved to finally have something in her stomach. "And are you alone, Julia? Where are your parents?" The girl lowered her gaze, hesitating before answering. "I don't know. It's been days since I've seen my mom. She said she was going to look for work and would be back soon, but she hasn't returned yet." Clara swallowed hard, trying to hide the sadness she felt hearing those words. She knew what it was like to carry the weight of absent parents. "You're very brave, Julia," Clara said, trying to comfort her. "And while you wait for your mom, know that you can always find help in places like this." Meanwhile, across the restaurant, a man sitting at the last table observed everything. He was a customer who had been there for hours, blending in quietly. He saw Clara give up her own meal and sit to talk with the girl. He didn't say a word, but his eyes sparkled with curiosity and admiration. Such simple kindness, yet so rare, he thought as he watched silently. As Julia finished her meal, Clara felt a mix of emotions. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but seeing the relief on the girl's face made it all worthwhile. "All done," Julia said, pushing the empty plate toward Clara with a shy smile. "Thank you. You've been so kind to me." "There's no need to thank me," Clara replied, leaning in to pick up the plate. "Sometimes, a small gesture can change everything. I hope your mom comes back soon." Julia nodded, but her distant gaze hinted that the reality might be different. Before leaving, the girl hugged Clara quickly, as if that simple contact was the greatest gift she could receive. Take care, Julia, Clara said as she watched the girl disappear into the cold night. Clara returned to work, masking her exhaustion and hunger. However, she didn't realize that Enrique had been watching the security cameras from the kitchen. Clara! Enrique's booming voice made the entire dining area tremble. Clara turned quickly, seeing her boss marching toward her, his face red with rage and his phone in hand. What's this about giving away free food? Do you think this is a charity house? Clara tried to explain, but Enrique cut her off. You're stealing from me, is that it? Stealing! Because every plate that leaves here unpaid is money out of my pocket. Enrique, she was just a hungry child, Clara said firmly. I couldn't simply ignore her. And why not? Do you think the world is going to be kind to you just because you're nice? Wake up, Clara. No one helps anyone for free. If she's hungry, that's her problem, not ours. Clara's eyes began to fill with tears, but she refused to show weakness. You don't understand, Enrique. It's not just about money. It's about humanity. If you can't see that, maybe you're the one who needs help. Enrique was momentarily speechless, but quickly regained his composure. You're fired, he said coldly. And I don't want to see you here again. Clara felt the ground disappear beneath her. She knew Enrique could be cruel, but she hadn't expected to be dismissed for something so small yet so meaningful to her. As Clara gathered her belongings and left, she noticed the man at the last table was still there, watching everything attentively. He seemed about to say something but held back, letting her leave without intervening. Clara walked through the cold city streets, fighting back tears. When she finally stopped at a bench in the park, all she could do was cry. She thought about Luna and how she would tell her sister that she was now unemployed. She thought about the meal she had shared and how it now seemed like a foolish decision. Maybe Enrique is right, she murmured to herself, looking at the sky. Maybe I'm too naive. Before she could sink further into sadness, Clara heard the sound of an approaching car. A sleek, black luxury vehicle stopped in front of her. She frowned, confused, and looked away. Surely, it had nothing to do with her. The car door opened, and the man from the restaurant stepped out. He was impeccably dressed, a warm smile on his face. Clara, he said, walking toward her. She recognized him immediately. You, the customer from the restaurant? What are you doing here? She asked, puzzled. I came to find you, he replied. I saw what happened back there. Your generosity with that girl, and how you stood up to that tyrant. I couldn't just let it go. Clara blinked, trying to understand what was happening. But why? Who are you, anyway? The man extended his hand with a smile. My name is Gabriel. I'm a businessman, the owner of several companies in the area. I was at the restaurant by chance, but when I saw what you did, I knew I needed to know you better. Clara looked at Gabriel, still confused. His words sounded kind, but were hard to believe. Change my life, she repeated, frowning. How? Why? I'm nobody. I'm just a waitress who lost her job for trying to do the right thing. Gabriel gave her a sympathetic smile and sat beside her on the park bench, maintaining a calm and welcoming tone. Clara, do you know why most people don't do what you did today? Because they're afraid. Afraid of losing the little they have. Afraid of looking weak. But you risked everything, even knowing it could go wrong. That's rare. Clara looked away, fighting back tears. But what's the point, she murmured. Now I'm jobless. I can't pay rent, and my sister depends on me. Gabriel leaned forward slightly, his eyes shining with determination. It means much more than you think. Clara, I'm a businessman, but I also grew up in hardship. I've been hungry, just like that girl you helped. I've been treated as if I had no value, just like your boss treated you. And I've always dreamed of helping people with hearts like yours. He paused, studying Clara closely. That's why I want to propose something. I want to invest in you. I want to help you build a better future for yourself and your sister. Gabriel's words left Clara breathless. Invest in me, she asked, her voice trembling. Yes, Gabriel confirmed. I want to give you an opportunity to change your life. I'm not just talking about money, but a real chance to do something meaningful. The first thing we need to figure out is what you truly want. Clara hesitated, her heart racing. I've never thought about it. I've been so busy trying to survive that I never imagined I could dream of something bigger. Gabriel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then start dreaming now. What would you do if you could do anything in the world? I think I would open a small cafe, Clara said timidly. A cozy place where people could come not just to eat, but to feel welcome. I've always liked the idea of creating a space that's more than just a business. Gabriel's eyes lit up. A cafe. That's perfect. And with your empathy and kindness, I'm sure it would be a special place. Clara still seemed hesitant. But I don't know how to run a cafe. I don't know anything about business. Gabriel smiled. And that's why I'm here. I have the experience, the contacts, and the resources. You have the vision and passion. We'll do this together, step by step. Clara didn't know what to say. On one hand, the proposal seemed too good to be true. On the other, there was something about Gabriel's sincerity that made her want to believe. Why me? She finally asked. Because I saw something in you that's very rare, Gabriel replied. A genuine kindness that can't be bought or taught. The world needs people like you, Clara. And sometimes, even good people need help. Clara looked at him, trying to decide. Her eyes met Gabriel's, and she saw that he was being honest. I accept, she said softly but firmly. I accept your help. Gabriel smiled, satisfied. Then it's official, he said, extending his hand for a firm shake. Today, you took the first step toward changing your life. Clara took his hand, feeling a new spark of hope ignite inside her. For the first time in a long while, she believed that something good could happen. The next morning, Gabriel came to pick Clara up from her small apartment to start planning. When he arrived, he was surprised to see Luna, Clara's younger sister, answering the door. Good morning, Gabriel said with a smile. Luna, shy, looked at him curiously. Are you my sister's friend? Before Gabriel could answer, Clara appeared, quickly fixing her hair. Luna, go have your breakfast. We have a lot of work to do today. She's adorable, Gabriel commented as Clara grabbed her bag. She's my motivation for everything, Clara replied. I don't know what I'd do without her. In the car, Gabriel explained the initial plan. Clara, before we open your cafe, we need to find the ideal location. But more importantly, I want you to understand how the business works. I have a friend who runs one of the coziest cafes in the city, and he's going to help us get started. They arrived at a charming cafe in the city center, with a flower-covered facade and outdoor seating. Inside, the aroma of fresh coffee and baked bread filled the air. Clara, this is Eduardo, Gabriel said, introducing the cafe owner. Eduardo was a friendly man with warm eyes and contagious energy. He shook Clara's hand firmly. So you're the famous Clara Gabriel has told me so much about? Eduardo said. I've heard you have the right heart for this business. Clara was surprised. He talked about me. Yes, and very highly. Now, come with me. I want to show you how everything works here. Eduardo spent the day teaching Clara about running a cafe, from selecting coffee beans to customer service. He took her to the kitchen, showed her how baristas prepared drinks, and even let her try making a cappuccino. Clara laughed when the milk foam came out uneven, but Eduardo encouraged her. Making mistakes is part of learning, he said. With your dedication, you'll master this in no time. After the day at Eduardo's cafe, Gabriel took Clara to visit potential locations for her future cafe. Some were too big, others were in poor condition, but one space immediately caught Clara's attention. It was a small building with large glass windows that let in plenty of sunlight. There was enough space for indoor and outdoor seating, and a small area in the back that Clara envisioned filled with plants. This is it, Clara said with conviction. Gabriel smiled. Are you sure? Absolutely. I can picture everything here. The tables, the smell of coffee, the smiling people. This place has soul. Then this is where we'll start, Gabriel replied. Now we need to work to transform it into a space as welcoming as you imagine. In the following days, Clara got involved in every detail of the project. With Gabriel's help, she chose the wall colors, the furniture style, and even the names of the drinks to be served. She decided to name the cafe Hug in a Cup, a name that perfectly reflected what she wanted to offer, warmth and comfort in every detail. Meanwhile, Luna got excited watching the progress. "Will there be hot chocolate?" she asked. "Of course," Clara replied, laughing. "And you'll be my #1 customer." The much-anticipated day finally arrived. Clara stood at the center of her new cafe, looking around with a mix of pride and nervousness. The once empty space was now full of life: warm-toned walls, delicate flower decorations on the tables, and the irresistible aroma of fresh coffee and warm bread. Luna ran up to her with a smile. "It's all so beautiful, Clara. It feels like a dream." "It is a dream, Luna," Clara replied, squeezing her sister's hand. "One that finally came true." Soon, the first customers began arriving. Friends, neighbors, and even some strangers curious to see the new cafe. Clara was radiant, serving tables and thanking everyone for their kind words about the place. Gabriel entered quietly, observing from a distance as Clara naturally moved around, serving customers with a warm smile. "She was born for this," Eduardo commented, also there to support the event. As Clara arranged some cups on the counter, Gabriel approached her with a smile. "You have a visitor outside who wants to see you," he said. Clara frowned, curious, and followed Gabriel to the cafe's outdoor area. Sitting at one of the tables was Julia, the little girl Clara had helped at the restaurant weeks earlier. "Julia!" Clara exclaimed, kneeling beside her. The girl smiled, her eyes shining as brightly as before. "Hi, Clara. My mom came back home. I told her about you, and she said she wanted me to come here and thank you again." Clara held Julia's hands, overcome with emotion. "I'm so happy for you, Julia. You're an amazing girl, and you deserve all the best." Julia handed Clara a small bouquet of simple yet charming flowers. "This is for you. It's a gift because you were the first person to help me when I needed it most." Clara accepted the flowers with tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Julia. This means so much to me." As the day came to an end, Clara sat at one of the tables with Luna beside her and Gabriel across from her. The cafe was empty, but the space felt full of positive energy. "You did it, Clara," Gabriel said with a smile. "No, we did it," Clara corrected, looking at Gabriel and Luna. Gabriel raised his coffee cup in a symbolic toast. To hug in a cup and the power of small acts of kindness. Clara lifted her cup, feeling truly fulfilled for the first time in years. The journey had been difficult, but now she knew the world could be kind when kindness was repaid.